I'd just like to welcome Congressman Mike Nicholas to our meeting. And thank you again for accepting my invitation to work together on these war reparations, because I think it's a very important piece of legislation. It's something that our people has been looking forward to, and I think we need to be united on it. And just to say again and reiterate that you have my full support on the your efforts for the war reparation, and of course your HR 1365.
Thank you, Governor.
So I invited Mike to sit down and talk about just these issues, and I wanted you, Mike, to be, please know that my intention was fully just to go over there and support you in your HR 1365, because there's been some, questions, there's been some concerns, and I think those concerns are only that we work together in my mind. So I hope you accept that, and we'll move forward in working together.
Thank you, Governor.
Are we done?
I mean, you're the one that asked to meet, so I'm here to
Yes.
discuss
And
whatever you want to discuss.
so, any comments or feedback in my wanting to continue our relationship in working for the war reparations and making sure that, your bill is passed and our bill here is also passed?
Well, I mean, so you're still wanting to move forward Bill 181?
Absolutely.
Yeah, then that's a problem, Governor. And I made it very clear that 181 is going to create consternation inside the House and the Senate if we're trying to move a local measure that is going to be sending mixed signals with 1365.
Well, I totally don't agree with that. Josh and Tony was over there. They talked to the officials of the Senate, whose oversight of this bill 1365. And my impression and my information is that it has little impact or minimal risk at all, as I see Bill 181 as complementing your work for HR 1365. Bill 181, all it specifically says is that we create an account here, and that we create the processes and the procedures that we need to do to work from an administrative perspective to try and start giving out the monies to our war survivors. And so I don't see it at all as conflicting or contrary to HR 1365. I see it as a complementary and a support for 1365.
Governor, I very much understand that's how you see it, but that's not how the Senate is seeing it. That's also not the message that the Republicans brought back when they went out there and they met with those same officials. The Republicans even came straight up to me and they said, Congressman, we spoke to the Senate and they said if we move this local measure, it's going to get in the way of 1365. And I said, yeah, I'm not making it up. So I know that 181 is something you're very passionate about, but it is going to cause a conflict with the movement in the Senate. So, I mean, that's just the reality of the ground.
I think we disagree on that, and we just move on. And I will continue to pursue 181 because I don't agree that it's going to negatively impact your HR 1365. And then on your side, you continue on with your HR 1365, and I will continue to support your HR 1365. So I think at the end of the day, we'll both benefit from it, and I guess we just leave it at that, and then we move on with what we need to do.
My concern isn't, who's going to benefit, Governor. My concern is making sure that we're going to get this war claims thing through. And, we've been communicating very clearly. I called up the legislature when they're trying to move the bill on the floor at that time. I'm surprised the Speaker pulled the bill in the most recent session when Josh and Tony apparently called her and told her to pull the bill. Could you shed some light on that as to why they
That
told her to
was
do
from a discussion with the Chief Investigative Counsel for the Senate of Judiciary, which your HR 1365 is. And it was to hold off for about 2 to 3 weeks because the officials there, as they were explained of what the bill is, felt that they wanted to apprise and they wanted to inform Senator Lindsey Graham, and that they wouldn't be able to meet with him till about 2 to 3 weeks. So they asked us to wait off, and we agreed, because we also wanted to see from Senator Lindsey Graham what his comments were. The discussions with
back to, you know, when this whole thing started, because the goal was to first pass Bill 181 before Liberation Day on the 21st. And then the bill came to the floor of the legislature about maybe a month ago, and then came back again about a couple weeks ago. And the message that you're constantly getting back from Washington now is still don't move this bill. If you had moved it in July, it would have been done without the Senate being checked on. It would have been done without the House being cleared. And so, you know, and that's why I'm very concerned of all of this movement, because as much as, you know, locally you're trying to push this local bill, the feedback, I mean, even from, you know, their trip also said, we don't know anything about this, we don't know how this is going to impact things, and let's not move this forward at this time.
well, you know,
And even also in the media, Governor, you mentioned that they even said that 1365 may pass in November. So why are we putting all this risk on the table?
because in my mind and in my discussions with people and in my research, Bill 181 is not gonna impact your HR 1365. And I have not gotten any feedback from Washington that it is gonna impact. My feedback from Washington is that they don't even, you're right, they don't even know about this bill, and they're not even tracking it. That's how insignificant in their mind Bill 181 is. And Bill 181 really was just introduced not in June or July, but it was introduced later. So Bill 181 was introduced because our discussions at the White House and the administrations with DOI also is that we needed to set forth and establish legislation to create the account and the procedures to make it so that we can then get those monies or use the monies to advance to pay for our war survivors who have been waiting. And you know, I don't really care whether it benefits you or it benefits me. You're right, it's not about benefiting either one of us. It's about benefiting our war survivors who have waited for more than 75 years, Congressman. And I think this, you're adamant about that it's going to impact that. The only way it will impact is in a very positive way, because we will then have the procedure, we will then have the account, we will then have the monies, we will then be able to access those monies so we can start paying those adjudicated claims for the war survivors that I think we should start. And I expect that you would be supportive of Bill 181, and I was just actually surprised and amazed that you had put up such a defense against Bill 181, while I continue to be supportive of your HR 1365. So I just say we do what we need to do, and I'm just going to say that what you do in Congress for war reparations, I totally will support. You have my full support. You have my full support of the Lieutenant Governor, my Chief of Staff, my administration, because we need to move along, and we need to work together, and we need to be united on this, and we need to be showing our Manumku that you and I as leaders can work together for their fight and for their struggles, and for them to feel a little bit, compensated for the sacrifices and the horrendous experiences that they had to go through during World War II. So I'm just saying right now, we need to just, move on with this, and you have my full support, and I will continue with my Bill 181.
And that's where there's a problem, Governor, because you can't sit there and say that I have your full support, but you're going to keep pushing Bill 181 when I'm saying Bill 181 is going to compromise HR 1365.
And that's where we differ, because I see Bill 181 as complementing HR 1365.
But Governor, I'm the one in
HR
Washington. I'm the
HR
congressman in Washington.
1365 is a means for us to access money to pay for the war reparations. Bill 181 is a means for us to access money to pay for war reparations. There is really no difference in what we're trying to do. We have the same common goal and the same common agenda, so we can move on to pay our man uncle. Every day I read the paper, and there's like one or two of our dearest man uncles who passed away and can no longer now have the reparation. That really hurts me. And I have made the effort to reach out to you to come and let's work together. And I expect that in return from you.
Governor, first of all, the problem with Bill 181 is if you pass that, it's going to send a signal to the Senate that the urgency of 1365 is not there. And so while you want to rush out $7.5 million for those that have been adjudicated now, we still have over $40 million of unadjudicated claims that could be delayed indefinitely, because now the Senate's going to say, well, they're doing it locally. Why are we going to rush this thing out and get it handled?
No, because they are very
Governor,
much aware that the monies that are being put into the account is monies that are ours to begin with. So yes, there's an urgency to pay them out. The monies that are going to be paid are our monies to begin with. So I don't understand where that argument is coming from. But be that as it may, Mike, I am going to go and continue working and fighting for Bill 181. You, I expect, will go and continue fighting for HR 1365. And in the end, we are going to provide the war reparations for our man uncle.
Governor, I'm just very concerned that
Okay,
Bill
I've
181
heard it.
is
I've
going
heard
to
your
delay
concerns. I
1365.
have heard
Governor,
your.
please, I politely sat here and listened to you speak.
I
so
know,
if I could
but I'm
please
just
speak.
going to say I have heard your concerns. I note your concerns. I don't think there's a risk with those concerns, and
Governor, I'm telling you
you're
very
repeating
clearly,
yourself over, and I've just heard it.
I've
I
actually,
am listening, and I
I
heard.
haven't had the opportunity to repeat myself because I've barely spoken, Governor. And so if I may have the
I don't
opportunity to
think
speak
so.
in this meeting, Governor, may I? So because Bill 181 is going to be sending that message to the Senate, and it may indefinitely delay 1365, I don't want to do that to our Manamco. I don't want to do anything that's going to cause 1365 to move any slower. And right now, the situation in the Congress is so delicate. There's so much politics happening right now, nationally, that for us to be able to move this thing forward, we're going to need bipartisan support. Which was why when I reached out to the Republican Party, I was very grateful that they sent a delegation out there to be able to have conversations with their Republican counterparts in the federal government. And the messaging that they brought back, even after their meetings, was consistent with what I am saying. Bill 181 is going to put 1365 at risk, regardless of how you feel about it, regardless of whether or not you think it's going to turn out one way. I'm the congressman, and I'm telling you in the federal government, this is the messaging coming back to me, and this is something that we should not move forward if we really want to work together and if we really want to get war claims passed for our people. If the messaging continues to come from this administration that Bill 181 is a priority and we want to go in that direction, the confusion that's going to cause out there in Washington and the delays that may happen to 1365 is going to be something that I'm not going to be able to control, because I'm not the one responsible for that mixed messaging. And so I'm asking you, if you want to support me, please don't push that bill, and let's both jointly push 1365 as the single solution for war claims for our people.
And I am saying information from the Republican side or your information from the Senate is not the same information I am getting. I have sent my delegation also to go and talk to the Senate officials. I have also spoken to the Republican contingencies that went over there, and that's not the message I got. In fact, when I was talking to one of the Republicans, they said, I don't think it's that much of a risk, Governor, and I will vote for it right now. So there's, differences of information you're getting and I'm getting. And, I trust my information. I trust my intel. They have gone over there to speak directly to the Senate officials. And I don't know if you have spoken to the Senate officials. I don't know if your information is directly from the Senate officials, but my information is directly from the Senate officials. I guess we'll just disagree and move on with what we have to do. And yes, there is an urgency in my Bill 181. And again, the urgency is I want to pay our manamcos their due right as soon as I can. And Bill 181 will do that. I don't know if you have other issues to discuss, but I think war reparations was the main one. I would also support you in anything with H-2B workers, anything with EITC, anything with Medicaid, anything that will move forward our government and our island to, be a little bit more prosperous and quality of life. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Governor. I just want to, if this is my opportunity to close. The last time I was brought into a room full of cabinet officials was when I was trying to repeal pay raises for this government. And back then I said the government did not have the resources to be able to afford that. And I had a room full of cabinet officials who basically were trying to pressure me and change my mind about that. But at the end of the day, Governor, I turned out to be right. And in this 1365 and your Bill 181, I hope that I'm wrong. If you're going to continue pushing 181, I hope that I'm wrong and that it's not going to cause any kind of delays. Because I don't care about being right. I care about making sure we solve the problem. And Bill 181 only appropriates $7.5 million for 750 of our survivors, and we have 3,000 plus. Our government does not have the money to be able to fund the 3,000 plus. If we pay out the $7.5 million, where's the rest of the money going to come from if 1365 gets delayed indefinitely? What's going to happen to the rest of the manamco who are not going to be able to get any money? And the problem with that, Governor, is similar to the time when we paid out COLA and the time when we paid out EITC. Once you pay out one, the government is obligated to pay out all. They can take you to court, they can force you to pay out everybody, regardless of whether 1365 passes. And where is the remaining $33 million going to come from? The government is already struggling. The hospital is breaking, the roads are broken, the schools have water pouring into them. I'm seeing videos on Facebook. So where's that money going to come from when we have all these other local issues we need to address? We can solve the war claims problem, but what we need to do is we need to work together and get the money from where it's already being allocated. There's $18 million already set aside. Let's go and get that money together, Governor.
I agree, and I certainly also agree, Congressman, that if there's any delay, I am begging that you would be able to speed it up and make it work. Because after all, you are our congressman, and I have every hope that you will move along HR 1365 as quickly as possible, and let's start paying our manamco the dues that they have so rightfully deserved. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
How you doing? How you doing? Nice seeing you. Hi, how you doing?
I'm gonna go back up to the office.
You know, in retrospect, you always think about what you were doing.
Sorry, thank you.